Okay, Rabotai, this week we have Parashat. Which one Parashat we have? Achrei Kedoshim. As we know, this is Yemei Sefirah. During Yemei Sefirah, we have this Avelut, so to speak, because of the death of many students of Rabbi Akiva. And in this week's Parasha, we find the words Ve'ahavta. Continue. L're'echa kamocha. And you should love your fellow as yourself. This is in Parashat Kedoshim, in Perek 19, Pasuk 18. We all know, the Gemara says, Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students, and they all perished in one period because they did not show respect for one another. And this week, you should love your fellow as yourself. As such, let us spend a few minutes talking about the story of Rabbi Akiva. Who Rabbi Akiva was, where is his origins, and how he became Rabbi Akiva. The wicked Romans, they would sometimes seize Jewish women and have their way with her. Once, they set their eyes on a widow and her daughter, who were extraordinarily beautiful. And these Roman generals, the Roman soldiers, they took them to Rome. Along their journey, the two sat and wept bitterly. So two Jewish women, one a mother and a daughter, a widow and an orphan. And they were weeping. And a miracle occurred. The Roman guard took pity on them and turned to the mother saying, I'm a Roman officer, and I see what the Roman soldiers are doing to you is wrong. I intend to flee from here with my son. He's a Roman officer. I intend to leave from here, and sever ties, completely go away from the Roman culture and everything. I wish to become a Jew. And I ask you to promise me that after I become a ger, you will marry me. Sure. She promised him. He returned to Eretz Yisrael, converted, and his name was Yosef. He married the widow, and he had a son named Akiva. Okay, so this Roman officer converts, helps this woman, and he becomes the father of Rabbi Akiva.
What does Akiva mean?
Some say that this man already had Akiva. So it's not from this woman, but rather he already came with his son to Eretz Yisrael, and they're both Megayer. So different opinions.
That would make more sense.
Right, because it says...
If it was Ger, how's Ger?
Right.
If she's a woman lady.
He's both. He's a ger and he's Ben Gerim.
She's Jewish, we said. She's a Jewish, we said, the lady.
Yeah, but once a ger, he's Ben Ger.
He has shaykhs. He has shaykhs to a ger. There's different opinions. Chum have different opinions of what happened over here. Now, so he marries this woman. He has Akiva either from her or already before the marriage to her. And he passes away at a young age, leaving Akiva ben Yosef an orphan and alone. He has no family, and Akiva has to find a job. He has to live first. He needs money. So at that time, there was a famous Jew. He was a famous Jew who was very wealthy, who fed everyone. And not only did he feed everybody, we said a big chidush a couple of weeks ago, that not only did he feed everybody, Kaba said, well, he was a satiated dog. Not that he only satiated others, he satiated himself. Meaning, every time he gave somebody to eat, he sat and ate with them. There's two ways to do hesed. Here's some food, eat it. Or here, I need someone to sit with me so I can have company. Right? So Kaba said, when he would do this food thing, he would sit with them and eat. That's why he became so big, because he was always doing chesed, eating with them, so they would feel that they have company eating, and not just, this is a chesed house, and here you go, but rather, they were doing a chesed for him to eat him with company. Anyway, Akiva finds a job there. And he becomes a shepherd. He works there. He's managing everything. And as he's working there, this wealthy man has a daughter, and she sees Akiva. And she sees his work, she sees his uniqueness, and she now becomes of marriageable age. And her father, Kabbalah, is bringing all these Talmidei Chachamim. He's bringing boys from wealthy, good families, good names. And this girl, Rachel, Akiva's, Kabbalah's daughter, says, no, to every shidduch. You can imagine all the shadchanim. They have no one for her. Everyone they give her, all the best. The mitzuyanim of the yeshiva, nobody's good. Wealthy families, nobody is good. So her father says, what's going to be with you? She tells her father, I found a young man, and I wish to marry him. He has very good midot. He's very humble. He's very kind. And the father said, okay, listen, I can't have you staying at home forever. So who is this young man? She says, your shepherd, Akiva ben Yosef. You can imagine the scandal, right? What? How? When? My workers, what's going on? What happened? And the father was very angry. He said, I bring you all these Talmidei Chacham, I bring all these boys from the yeshiva, all so many good people. And you want to go with this low life? Do you want to disgrace me, humiliate me? And then Rachel said, this is what I want. And her father did not like it. And he said that if you marry him, she would leave his home and he would no longer acknowledge her. He would not know her anymore. Completely.
No financial support.
Nothing. Not just no, I don't know you. You're not my daughter, pretty much. Rachel asked for his forgiveness, and she said, I'm willing to sacrifice everything to be with this man, Akiva. And she told Akiva, I'm marrying you on one condition. What's the condition? You're going to go learn Torah. He agreed. They got married. They built a tent in an abandoned field. And with a few coins, they bought some bundles of straw to sleep on. They had no mattress, no bed, just some straw. You know, the Gemara tells us a story that Eliyahu Hanavi in disguise comes to Rabbi Akiva and Rachel, and says that I just had a baby, my wife just had a baby, and we don't have some straw to place him on. Could you please give us some straw? So, from everyone they can go to, they came to Rabbi Akiva's small, abandoned, little, broken down hut, and he's asking for some straw. And Akiva turns to Rachel and says, look how good we have it. Hashem has blessed us with straw. Not only do we have enough, but we even have enough to give this guy who has nothing. Doesn't even have straw. Now, stop for a second and think for yourself. Eliyahu Navi is Zoiche to Gilui Eliyahu. A revelation of Elijah, of seeing Eliyahu Navi. So, why didn't Eliyahu Navi come and give Rabbi Akiva some money? Help him out. He's such a good guy, you know? And you're coming and you're asking from him? It's a test of character. Good. Why is it a test of character? What do you want to see in him?
How do you behave in a low situation?
Why? Because what was that going to help you later on? If you can appreciate and thank Hashem for the little that you have, when you're zeichet to have more, how much more are you going to thank Hashem? Yeah. You should know Rabbi Akiva becomes a millionaire at the end of his life, right? Towards after he starts learning the yeshiva. They give him money. His father-in-law gives him back money. Before he even goes back to his father-in-law, he gets money. People give him, right? Everyone's on the sea, the whole water, and they come out and they say, oh, if we're going to give money to Rabbi Akiva, and they gave all his money to him. He became a millionaire. But he was zocheh to appreciate that money because even when he had nothing, he was able to give it to somebody else. And he said to Rachel, look, this guy has less than us. Look how good we have it. We have straw. They don't. A little bit into the marriage, Rachel tells Rabbi Akiva, it's time for you to fulfill your promise and go learn Torah. And he said, I want to go, but I'm a little scared. She said, what are you scared about? He said, everyone's going to make fun of me. I don't even know the Aleph Bet. I'm going to go to yeshiva, they're going to put me in the nursery. Right? So she said to him, what to do? What? Camel, the donkey. You know the story?
No. The flower.
Right. So find a donkey with a back that's indented. Put some soil in there and put some seeds and let the flowers grow out. And go take it to the marketplace. The first day he takes it, everybody's laughing. What's this? What's the flower? What kind of crazy donkey you have? The second day, some other people were laughing. After the third, fourth, fifth day, it became what? Normal routine. That people got used to it. Said Rachel, it's the same thing. You're gonna go to yeshiva, you're in the pre-minay class, okay, they'll make fun of you 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, and then everything gets normal. So by the way, this midah of getting used to things is sometimes a great thing and sometimes a terrible thing, right? Because you can get used to bad things also. But Rachel, by the way, just for the ladies, if any ladies are listening to this recording later on, just very important how she dealt with her husband. She didn't tell him, get out of here, you're crazy, you go to the yeshiva, don't worry about anything. She pointed it out to him with an example, right? It's important both ways, both ladies and the men, that when we talk to our spouses, we validate feelings and we explain and show rather than demand and scream and and yell and stuff like that. Rachel said it very nicely. She could have said, you promised me, you told me you're going to go. She had very valid reasons, but she didn't. She did it in a smart way. So Rabbi Akiva went and he said, how are you going to survive? She said, don't worry. Go study and I'll pray that Hashem will grant you wisdom and to learn and understand and everything will be well. Rabbi Akiva said, okay, how long do I should go learn? See, he's very good. He talked to his wife about everything. How long should I go learn? Because what did his wife say? 12 years.
Where she got that number?
She got it. Because there's first to 12th grade, right? School is 1 to 12. I never thought about it, but maybe go learn first to 12th grade. This is my own hidush. There's 12 grades in a normal American school, so you got to learn from 1 to 12. Okay? You can ask questions on that.
Vino did 14 years.
Not going to do many years. You're talking in Shem Ve'aver. He did 14. Yes.
I mean, he's going to yeshiva.
Yes. He was learning for 60 years before that.
Right.
Okay. So he went for 12 years. And he went and he started with 5-year-old children. He learned alphabet with them. And he couldn't even understand it. But Rabbi Akiva didn't give up. He continued and continued. With a short few months, he already started learning the Talmud. Rabbi Reisen, my Yeshiva, would say, he spends the summers. He spends a few weeks in the summer in Or Sameach in Eretz Yisrael, which is a Baal Tshuva yeshiva. He says, I'm always amazed of how these Baalei Tshuva come, nothing. They can't read alphabet, and within a few weeks, they're already fluently reading, and they don't think they are. He says, when you see them already able to understand the Torah Shebiktav, able to understand Gemara Lashon, that they're using it and they're learning, and it goes by quickly. Rabbi Akiva started learning, he got it, and he was learning the Rabbi Yeshua, he was learning Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, Rabbi Eliezer Hukanis, and other holy Tanaim. And they all realized how great he was. And by the end of 12 years, he had 12,000 students. 12 years ended, he told his Talmidim, I gotta go home. I'm going home. I promised her. And they said to him, Wherever you go, where we go? I gotta learn from my rabbi. The whole time they're walking, they're discussing Torah. He gets to his city. He says, "Wait here. I'll go see how things are at home, and then we'll find a Beit Midrash that we can learn in." He has 12,000 students with him. He approaches his house, and he hears the famous story, the neighbor speaking to the wife, saying, "You have become a almana in your husband's lifetime. You became a widow in your husband's lifetime. He's not here. You have the children. You have everything, and everything's on you. There's no husband, no support."
How did she get children?
Maybe she was pregnant before he left. Okay. What?
She gave birth. There was a story that she gave birth on the hay.
All right. Okay. So she gave birth. She had a child. And Rachel tells this neighbor, "If my husband would listen to me, I guess if he can hear me, he should go and study for another 12 years." Famously, everybody knows what Chaim Shmulevitz's part, that he didn't even go into the house. Why? He didn't come in and say hi, sit down for a tea, something.
12 plus 12 is not.
So very good. 12 plus 12 is not 24. And where do you learn that from? You learn it from the tea kettle, right? If I warm up the tea kettle halfway, then I shut it down, and then I put it on again. It's not going to get to that boiling point as fast. It's going to be lower. Same thing. If you're learning, is keep what's it called breaking up, and you're not learning continuously.
Okay, that don't cool off.
Exactly. That's not to say not to take breaks in your learning, but it should be continuous. Your storm have to be continuous and stuff like that, because otherwise you lose the cool. Right? You go away from Torah one day, Torah goes away from you one day. Now you're 2 days apart. Right? Every time it goes back and forth. Now, we mentioned this. The Gemara Durham says that there was a ship, and suddenly a big storm broke out, and it formed a large hole, and they all began to pray, and they said, "Hashem, for the sake of your servant Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef, save us." And they said, "All our possessions we have, if we get saved, we give it to Rabbi Akiva." The sea calmed down, and Rabbi Akiva was given many money, everybody's stuff. He used it to establish many yeshivot, and he purchased the Yerushalayim Shel Zahav for his wife. One can also purchase it from Impressed Jewelers, right? You can get it custom made. I'm doing a plug here right now, so you can order one Yerushalayim Shel Zahav.
You mean
Okay, you can get it as a necklace. You can get it any way you want. Impressed Jewelers can help you out. And he bought this for him. And then not only much, the Gemara says that Rabbi Gamliel remarked to the wife of Rabbi Gamliel remarked to her husband and said, Rabbi Gamliel's wife said to Rabbi Gamliel, "He is a ger, and look what his wife received." She was basically saying, "Where's my Yerushalayim Shel Zahav?" Right? And Rabbi Gamliel said, "Have you ever done it for me that you sent me to learn for 24 years? If you sent me to learn for..." So, ladies, if you want the Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, maybe you have to send your husband to learn for 24 years. I don't know how that's going to work out, but at least send him to shul, so he appreciates that he's going to learn and stuff like that. And he used all his money to go and establish more Torah and more Torah. We all famously know that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemaim. He saw Hashem putting tagin, the crowns, on certain letters. And Moshe said, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "What is the importance of these crowns?" And Hashem said, that who's going to be learning from these crowns? Rabbi Akiva. Moshe Rabbeinu said what? Give it through Rabbi Akiva the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted Rabbi Akiva to bring down the Torah. Hashem said, "It's my business, I'll give it to who?" Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Let me see the reward of Rabbi Akiva." What does he see? Getting scraped. I said, "Mahi, what's this?" What did Kadosh Baruch Hu say? "I run the world." Okay? I do what I do. Which is very, very important to realize that. But what do we see from this story, Rabotay? We see many, many things that are going on over here. But we see that even if the beginning is hard, the end will be sweet. A person who wants to learn Torah and he thinks it's hard. Rabbi, how can I do it? It's hard, it's this, it's that. Just do it. Like Nike says, just do it in the right way, by the way. Once you know it's the right thing to do, then you can just do it. If you're not sure it's the right thing to do, then don't just do it. Learning Torah is the right thing. The person has to make sure that he does it. Learning Torah, especially to the newcomer, could be hard. Might not be sweet, might not be good, might not be fitting his appetite. But if a person sticks to it, he'll see the sweetness. I tell you, from all the sweetness you have in the life, when you can understand a sugya, a topic in halakha, a topic in Gemara that was somewhat elusive, you couldn't understand it at first, but then you worked on it to understand it, there is no hana in the world that's comparable to that. Okay? The best ice cream, the best massage, the best vacation cannot compare to understanding that you get when you understand the topic. And I'll say, okay, I've been on vacation, I've been to Florida, I've gone places, I've eaten good meals in good restaurants, but I've never had the same hana as when you have a sugya that's difficult. Sometimes I'm sitting in front of Gemara. Now, when I give the shir in the shul, it's very polished. It comes out very nice. Don't think that the first time when I learned it, it was that nice and smooth. It's a lot of sugyas I have to break my head on. I have to break my head to figure it out. And it is one thing when you stop learn, and it's another thing when you teach what you learn, right? Because you have to be able to explain it in every step of the way. But the hana, the satisfaction that I get, the excitement that I feel when I'm able to understand the sugya and understand how the Rishonim understood the sugya and why the psak of the Shulchan Aruch is this way, bless you, and why the Ramah is this way, and why things are the way it is, and why we do what we do, and it's the explanation that opens the world of Torah to you. That, my friends, that hana is uncomparable. That's the sweetness of Torah. You see the truth in Torah. Anybody who never saw the truth in Torah, or says the truth it doesn't see the Torah as truth, the only reason why he doesn't see the Torah as truth is because he hasn't learned yet enough. People have questions, they have doubts, this and that. You didn't learn enough yet. You were superficial, like we said earlier. You still didn't hit the car. You didn't go in. How do you know anything yet? Oh, Rabbi said like that, Rabbi said like that. Once you delve into the sugya and you understand it, and why I learned this, but something here doesn't add up with that. How do I mix them together? How do I understand them together? That's when you make connections. And that's what the Rambam says, is learning something, davar mitoich davar, one thing from the other. That's the highlight, the top of learning Torah, is be able to analyze and produce. Not just to be a Sinai, to be Oiker Harim, to be both. So everything you learn, you keep, and you're able to go more and more from it. Okay, Rabotai, this was a little bit on the story of Rabbi Akiva and the importance of learning. I want to move on to some more important topics. The first one comes from the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yisrael Belsky Zecher Tzedik Levracha, and we're going to be speaking here is Rabbi Belsky's shita in halacha, his psak halacha, when it comes to alternative medicine. So first, let's define what alternative medicine is. So these are these so-called holistic doctors that they say your body has certain energies, ki, prana, and they do all sorts of movements, right? Reiki, they put your hands and they move it. And they use yoga and other things like this. Is it problematic? Now, there are going to be Rabbanim that perhaps say it's okay to do it in a certain way. Today, we're going to be looking at Rav Belsky, as he's my Rosh Yeshiva, and many Rabbanim do agree with him, and Rav Belsky's words are pretty sharp. I'll be very scared to tell anybody to try alternative medicine. But let's go through the sugya a little bit over here. Number one, this week's parsha tells us you should not make use of divination, you should not use omens, you should not turn towards those who practice Ov or Yeduni. You shouldn't be involved with sorcery or Avodah Zarah. And it says in the sixth parasha, Kedoshim tihu ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokeichem ushmartem chukotai v'asitem otam ani Hashem mikadishchem v'tkadishtem v'hitim kedoshim Ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. 3 times in this week's parasha, it says you should be holy. We don't have Ovo Yadoni. We don't have any of these black magics today that bring up the necromancers. Although, by the way, they still exist. There's sorcerers and these fortune tellers. They live. There was a Russian guy years ago in the 90s. He used to come around in the 90s. He used to come around in America and other places and have events, and people would come and he would heal them, and he ghosts and shmos and all these things. Okay. It's avodah zarah.
No, he touched people to sleep. Sorcery people do with him. Oh, sleepy.
No, it's almost staged.
Okay, listen to this. It is, and that, by the way, is also avodah zarah. By the way, that is also avodah zarah. Stage and fakeness is also avodah zarah. We're going to go through it. Listen to this. Okay. Says Rav Belsky. He says, new forms of idolatry have emerged, based for the most part on ancient forms that existed in the times of the Baal and the Asherah. And he says these practices of avodah zarah have infiltrated the Jewish Orthodox community, where in fact, ignorance of true facts, and even the Rabbanim that are sanctioning this avodah zarah and soothsaying, and there are all sorts of self-help groups, clinics, and counselors, healings and happenings given by gurus for the benefit of the gullible. Number 1 on the list is yoga movements. Though there are many, including learned and well-intentioned Rabbanim, who say there are no problem with certain forms of yoga if done just for exercise. Says Rav Belsky, the simple, verifiable fact remains that the very act of assuming a particular posture or movement in yoga is in itself a supplication to the deity associated with the action. Meaning yoga is based on avodah zarah. Every movement in the yoga exercise is based on that avodah zarah. So taking that movement of yoga is a form of praying to that avodah zarah. And a type of worship through movement and posture. So according to Rav Belsky, now the Rabbanim argue on that, respectfully, but according to Rav Belsky, yoga is asur legamre, it's avodah zarah.
Depends.
Now it depends. According to Rav Belsky, there's no depends. Completely. Any move is asur. Rav Hutner said,
Listen, these people that put cross on their face, it's also now, he just moved his fingers.
No, cross is different.
well, listen, I want you to read this line. I even put some pencil marks here. One may confidently assume that no Oriental practice is completely free of avodah zarah. Anything that comes from the Far East, China, Japan, India, all these things are somewhat involved with avodah zarah. And he brings a Pachad Yitzchak Hutner, who says, we know that Avraham Avinu, it says, Luvnei Piloshim, Asher Avraham, Natan Avraham Matanot, Veishlachem, Mal Yitzchak, Banu Bodenu Chai, Kedma, La'eretz, Kedem. It says, Avraham Avinu, it's not usher for Goyim to have certain practice of magic and stuff like that. And he gave it to the children, his children from the Piloshim, from his concubines, who were not necessarily Jewish. And he sent them with these magic books. But it's not allowed. It's not allowed for us.
Who gave it?
Avraham Avinu,
What did he do with it?
but not for us.
What did Abraham do with it?
He had a Masechta avodah zarah.
It says that he
He had a Masechta avodah zarah.
broke all the Masechta.
Yeah.
Wasn't something
So was it avodah zarah? So there's a difference between avodah zarah and magic, perhaps you can say. So avodah zarah is also for everybody, but magic perhaps is not. And what he's saying is, Rav Belsky is saying is that all magic in China and Japan and all these places is actually based on avodah zarah. So it's not just magic,
Yeah, but
not just sorcery.
everything.
Now,
Hold on. Rabbi Belsky is smarter than you?
100%. He's smarter than almost everybody alive today. Now, here I'm reading his words. These are his words, by the way. This is from his shiurim that he gave in yeshiva on the Chumash every week on the Parsha. You can hear these words. You can hear his shiurim live. You can not live, but you can hear them on recordings. That's where these come from. Listen to what he says next. He says now in the Western world, in our world where we live, they don't go around saying this is Chinese magic or Japanese magic. They give it new names, which is New Age medicine or alternative medicine.
What alternative?
Okay? All these, she's saying, are pseudo-scientific. He says, even if scientists now come and say, oh, there is a way you can show this and prove it scientifically, he says it's pseudo-scientific. It's fake. It's fake. All right? These things are, they want to prove something, so they get a study to prove it. Okay? I'll just tell you a little bit about studies. So when I was in Turo, my professor was getting got a grant from palm juice. Okay, you know the palm juice? Pomegranate juice. Okay? They wanted him to make a study to show that palm juice has a lot of antioxidants. Antioxidants are good for you. You know, it helps heal the body and stuff like that. So they gave him to compare it to tea, to different teas, and to different things. He does this. He does the study. He finds out that green tea and white tea has way more antioxidants than palm juice. So he presents it back to them. So they take the study and they hide it. They never publish it, right? Because they want to say that they have a lot of antioxidants. They don't want to say compared to tea, it's a lot less. So you have to understand, studies can be very much. Go back to the tobacco era, right? When smoking was being told it was no good, the tobacco companies wanted to keep it alive. So what did they do? They funded studies, scientific papers, to come out to say that it's good for you. It relieves stress. It's good for your body. It's good for this. It's good for that. Scientific proof. So just the idea is a scientific study, by the way, and this is something that we learn in college, both in bachelor's and a master's level, is how to evaluate a scientific study. Just because it's in a journal and it has some doctor's name on it, you have to evaluate if it's actually, if it could be relied on. Right? You have to see how the study was designed. You have to go through all the design of the study, who did it, who conducted it, where was it conducted, who was the sample, who is funding it, right? All that has to be part of it. So says Rebelsky, he says, even though there's some scientific studies that show that there's a way to prove these techniques that are based on Chinese and Japanese medicine, he says they're pseudo-scientific. And it's still based on Avodah Zarah. He says prana, chi, ki, all these things are all reminiscent of real Avodah Zarah. And he says Rabban have been known to give haskamas to these practices without realizing that the word prana, chi, and ki are all names of Avodah Zarah. Prana is the name of a Hindu Avodah Zarah. Chi is in Chinese. And ki is Japanese Avodah Zarahs.
Tai Chi.
Yeah. Chi meant energy, right? It's the energy flow in the body. That's what they're saying. That is all based on Avodah Zarah.
What about Zen also?
He says I want only a little further. I will tell you. He says, Chazal tell us what was the first Avodah Zarah. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us. What was the first Avodah Zarah? The Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us. The original Avodah Zarah was worship of Mother Earth. The original graven image, the first graven image, was the mother nursing a child. Okay? When people say I'm using the energy of the world and all these things, they're referring to Mother Earth. That is Avodah Zarah. All that is Avodah Zarah.
What's Mother Russia?
It says, Rabbi Belsky, he says, ignorance is causing people to do these things. And then he says, and this is a very, very important thing, I've seen this so true in my life. People love to be enthralled by some type of deep, mystical, and superior power, which alleviates the boredom and goes beyond the limitations of ordinary living. Everyone wants to believe there's something else out there that's going to heal me. Some doctor said that if I eat this water with this thing, with this, that, it's going to change my whole life. And make me better, make me that. People literally sit on TikTok and Instagram and go through these doctors who talk about every nonsense out there, and each one has a different mahalach of how to heal it.
They have 1 million followers.
And none of it's true. Okay? None of it's true. Not saying that.
All the Hasidim people brought up selling.
You listen to them. Each one is sicer his own thing, and everyone is decisiring themselves. Also, thing. It cannot be true. Now, is it true that there are herbs and there are medicines and there are natural foods that you can eat? For sure. But that comes with true scientific study. So Rav Belsky said the only reason why we're allowed to use Western medicine, right? Why we're allowed to use Western medicine, and what it means, you can go to an actual doctor, not a doctor who tells you spells and incantations, right? Why? He says because the results can be reproduced. Meaning you can study it, you can reproduce this result, you can do it again and again until you have an idea of how things work. It depends how it's done. He doesn't bring it here. And there's a book all on this. But if it's something that's reproducible and something that be truly scientifically studied and proven, that's a different story. But stam, going into these things are very, very dangerous. And not only that, there is tuma in there. Now Reiki, if I'm saying it right, is another thing. Reiki is where the guy puts his hands over you. So it's the flow of energy. Good, you didn't hear about it. It's a flow of energy. They sort of move their hands around and they take out the bad chi and the bad powers and they give you good powers instead inside. This, and all he says is that, he said once a person came to Rabbi Belsky and said, there's a story that's said about a certain Rebbe, the original Rebbe, who someone once came to him and he touched him and he healed him. So you see, maybe he was using Reiki. So Rabbi Belsky said, when the original Rebbe touched him, if the story is true, he put tahara, he put purification, he put kedusha into the other person, and that's how he healed him. Your Reiki is all based on avodah zarah. You're putting in different forms of tumah in the guy. You didn't heal him. You just put tumah into him. Al tivakeshu l'tameh b'hem. Do not seek to defile yourselves with them. V'haya machanecha kodesh. You have to keep your camp holy. Not only holy, you have to stay smart. You know, people are desperate. Let me tell you the truth when these things come in. When people is down to the wire, and their loved one is sitting in the hospital bed, and the doctors are telling them, look, it's bad. Now, the doctor, he cannot tell you the person's definitely going to die, although they do. It's Hashem's hand when it's going to happen. The doctor could say, like, look, a lot of times this is the end stages, and person has to know that. But what happens? People don't want to give up, and it's good. Daven, do the right thing. But now, instead of davening and do the right thing, they found some Dr. Albert. Oh, he's a Russian guy. He studied in China for 10 years. He can look at your tongue and tell you what's wrong with you, right? And all these type of doctors. Eyes. Okay? I met a guy who does the tongue. I met a Chinese guy. He says, stick out your tongue. I studied the tongue for 10 years. To my head, I'm thinking, it took you so long to look at one tongue. 10 years to study one tongue. But no, he says, stick out your tongue and I'll tell you what's wrong with you and how to fix you. And people spend on this guy thousands and thousands of dollars cash. And he only takes cash. And when the patient dies in the end, what does he tell you? You didn't listen to what I told you. I told you to buy this, buy that, do that. Yeah, that's why he died. Not because the pasuk says that Hashem takes a person on his proper time. That doesn't say. And the person says, oh, I will tell you, don't get taken for a ride. Now, just to leave one segment open, there is such a thing as a holistic medicine, which means is that you can heal yourself with certain foods and stuff like that, eating healthy and stuff like this, but those have to be based on scientific stuff. You know, spinach has this vitamin in there. This has this vitamin here. That has that vitamin in here. It's been proven to help and this and that. But magic, right? Stuff that are based on like Reiki and Chi and Ki and these yogas and shmogas like this. Your person can do exercise. The person has to do exercise. The person has to go to the gym and work out. I wish I had the time. I should get myself out there and do stuff. But not as is associated with the person has to be very careful with that. Now, the Rabbanim respectively argue with Rav Belsky. But in the end of the day, Rav Belsky was a genius, and Rav Belsky is very, very strong on this. And really, if you're stuck in a desperate situation, that's not the time to reach out to these people. The person has to do studies on his own, just to go and learn and read and stuff like that. This was on every week's parsha, but there's also one on alternative medicine, just on alternative medicine in English from Rav Belsky. Yeah, you just type in Rav Belsky on alternative medicine, you'll see a book. But
Несколько книг это мои фотографии. Я был его
Avner's picture.
Я был его фотографом.
No, he took the picture.
Beautiful. Okay, Rabotai, I want to do 2 more halachot. Again, get into some interesting stuff. Okay. Okay, two halachot. One related to what we just learned, and then one more if we have some time. Okay. So we just talked about you shouldn't look into divination, you shouldn't look into magic, you shouldn't look into sorcery. But we have something in Judaism that's called the Gairel Hagra. Anyone ever heard of the Gairel Hagra? Gairel Hagra. What's the Gairel Hagra? What's the Gairel Hagra? All right. So a person is misupik. He doesn't know what to do. He has 2 good choices in front of him, or 2 bad choices. Whatever. He has 2 choices in front of him. He doesn't know what to do. So he does a Gairel Hagra. There's a certain procedure, how you open the book, which line you look at, which you count over letters, and then you'll find a word or a pasuk, and you use that to get your answer. So the first question is, isn't that divination? Isn't that practicing sorcery? I'm going through the books, to find an answer.
I think it's regular
So the Chida says, in Shirei Beracha, he says, listen, Torah is hayenu. Torah is your life. So if you're looking to the Torah for life, what to do, it should be okay.
They did it to Azazel. Isn't that how they did it?
Oh, the Gairel, right. We're going to get into that in a second, to do a lottery for other things, correct. But number one, the Chida says, listen, Torah is chayenu. The Chida says it has to be Torah and just Torah. So this means, some say this means just the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. You could do a Gairel Hagra on. Some say it means all of Tanakh, and some say it means Tehillim. According to the Chida, Torah shebiktav and not Torah shebal peh. You cannot use Mishnayot and you cannot use Gemara. It has to be a Tanakh, at minimum a Tanakh. And Rav Schachter from Yeshivas Rabbi Tzigel Chanan, he says that what the Lubavitcher Hasidim do is aser. What do? They use the Rebbe's letters, the Igros of the Rebbe, and they put in questions inside the book. Randomly open the book, put their question, and there they find the answer. Says Rav Schachter, it is aser, leaning on Avodah Zarah. He said the whole Gairel Hagra is only on Tanakh, not on Mishnayot, not on Gemara. It has to be from Tanakh only.
Tanakh is okay.
No, if you know how to do it, not just to do it.
How you do it?
Okay, so that's a good question, and there are different opinions of what you can do it on and how you do it. But then you have to go down a few lines, read a few lines, letters over. There's a whole procedure to it. Anyway, the Torah is the world's blueprint, so perhaps that's why only the Torah can be used and nothing else. Now, the Chafetz Chaim records, Chafetz Chaim during World War I didn't know what to do with his yeshiva. It was World War I was coming, he didn't know what to do. So he used the Gairel Hagra, and he came to the pasuk that said, Yaakov split his camp into 2. And so he divided his yeshiva in half. So the Chafetz Chaim used the Gairel Hagra. That was in the year 1914. Rav Eli Lopian was also reported to have used the Gairel Hagra, and to know when or not to travel. I believe they said the Mir Yeshiva also used the Gairel Hagra to figure out where to go. The Rav Aaron Kotler, when he was escaping Europe, was questioning, where should I go to? To Eretz Yisrael, to America. And Rav Moshe Feinstein invited him to come to America. So Aaron did the Garla Gra, and he came to the pasuk that said that Aaron came to visit to greet Moshe in the Midbar. And he said, "Oh, that must mean I have to go greet Moshe in America, which is the Midbar." And so Rav Aaron Kotler came to America. So famously, there was the 35 soldiers in Eretz Yisrael that got murdered, and they didn't know who they were. This was in Gush Etzion. This was, I think, in the early in the history of the country, of the state. And 35 Jewish men were killed by the Arabs. I believe the story is they saw the shepherds. They saw these Arab shepherds, and instead of killing them, they tied them up. The Arab shepherds got loose from their tie-up and ran after these Jewish soldiers and ended up killing a dozen. 12 out of the 35 were killed. And they were killed to such an extent you couldn't tell whose body was who. Rabbi Aryeh Levin, was tasked to finding who was who. He used the Gerel Hagra to figure out who was who. After DNA was used, Gerel Hagra he was 100% accurate. I don't know if DNA was used, but anyway, it turned out to be, if they figured out, whatever afterwards, he was 100% accurate in using the Gerel Hagra. He got every single body correct. So there is a Gerel Hagra, and it was used by a lot of Litvish Rabbanim, or Shishivas. There was a rabbi in Morocco that was also reported to use it. Rav Chaim Vital also talks about using the Torah in certain ways, these Garalot, to figure out something. So it looks like the Sfardim and the Litvaks sort of use it. There is, I don't know if the Gerel Hagra in the sense, by the way, why it's called Gerel Hagra, nobody knows. It's attributed to the Gra, but the Gra wasn't the one who started it. It was already from beforehand, but it's given to, and there's no story with the Gra that it was used by the Gra. It's just called the Gerel Hagra. The Baal Shem Tov was reported to use a Torah to figure something out, but not necessarily the Gerel Hagra. Now, you said very good. We have Gerel in the Torah. We have Yom Kippur service, right? The Yom Kippur service is there, and the Seir for Azazel, right, is used through a Gerel. So too, the Yerusha was done. The inheritance in Eretz Yisrael was done through a Gerel. It was done through a lottery. So too, and they didn't know who took from the spoils of Yericho, Yeshua did a Gerel, right? And when they didn't know who violated the decree of fasting during the war with the Plishtim, during the time of Shaul, they did a Gerel to figure out it was Yonatan. So, and Yonah, and say for Yonah, when Yonah was on the ship and they wanted to figure out who was causing the storm, they did a Gerel and they figured out it was Yonah. So you have many, many times where you have a Gerel being used. What about the Torah being used? You have many sources in the Midrash as well as in the Gemara where someone didn't know what to do, and he would go to a young child and say, Psok li pesukach. Go tell me what pasuk you are learning. And the pasuk that they were learning, from there, they figured out what to do, right? Rav Sheshes was blind, and the Rosh Galusa's servants were upset with him, and they wanted to make a trap. Like in the movies, they had a hole, and they put a carpet over it, and they want them to fall in and die in there, right? He knew they were after him. He was blind, he couldn't see where to go. He saw a young kid, he said, what did you learn? And then he told the pasuk that said, in Shmuel, to go right or left, and not go straight. So he listened to that, went right or left, and he didn't go on the trap, and he survived. Right? So you have many stories there. Mordechai, a tzaddik, wanted to know what will be with Haman's decrees, and he went to the young boys and he asked them, and the three psukim that many say after Aleinu, Al Tira, Mipachat Pitom, Utzu Etzav, Etufar, Va'adzikna, and Iseva, right? All these psukim of how we'll be saved, and he used it as indication of what to do. So you have the usage of psukim to tell me what to do. There are many poskim, the Taz, the Shach, who want to say, and the Ramah, the Tur, who all say, when you tell a child, tell me your pasuk, it's ketzat nevuah, and that's why it's mutar.
Any child we can ask?
You can ask a child a pasuk because it's ketzat nevuah. As Chazal tell us, nevuah went to children and to tipshim, so you can ask them for a pasuk, and it becomes ketzat nevuah, and that's why it's mutar. The Rambam doesn't say ketzat nevuah. The Rambam says, when you hear psoik li pesukach, you're using it as advice and facts to make the decision, a guidance to make a further decision. Okay? So it's not divination. I'm not doing nichush. I'm not divining and doing sorcery, but rather I'm using the Torah as a guidance and I'm using Psokli Pesukach to do this. Right? The Gemara tells us, person has a new house, a new baby, it's time to consider it a siman tov. It's a good guidance. It's a good time to get in stuff with stuff. The Chida points out that when King Yoshayahu made the tshuva movement, why did he do it? He found the Sefer Torah, and he found it open to a certain pasuk that said, if you don't follow the Torah, what will be with the people? And so he made a whole tshuva movement. So here he followed a pasuk. So again, you can use the pasuk to do this. And Rav Sternbuch also writes that a person could use psukim in this sense to teach him what to do. So in the end of the day, the Garul Agra has some basis because it's based on psukim. Either it's Ktsat Nevu'ah, Psokli Pesukach, or it's an indication or guidance of what to do, but it has to be done right. And it has to be done by the right people. It should be known that the Stipler of Chaim Kanievsky, the Chazon Ish, did not use the Garul Agra. And when they were asked about the Garul Agra, they said, we don't use it. We don't know how to use it, we don't use it. There was a story I heard that a man said that he wanted to learn the Garul Agra, and he tried so hard to learn it, and he finally figured it out. There was a manuscript, apparently there was a manuscript in the British Museum that had the one of the rabbis who wrote the way to do the Garul Agra. Anyway, he says in the story that he heard that there's a person did a Garul Agra, and two people did it, and they both have the same pasuk, right? But each one interpreted the pasuk differently. So each one got a different answer based on the way they interpreted it. So it's not Pasha just doing a Garul Agra, but wanted to come out with there's a difference between sorcery and psukim used right. However, I will tell you, to be careful of those who read palms, be careful of those who read faces, be careful of those who consider themselves Kabbalists and tell you stuff and writings. Now, there are chachmas in this, but it's not something that Jews get involved with or should be involved with. And b'derech klal tomim tiyeh Shem Elokecha is the best motto, and a person should use rationale, and a person should use logic and das Torah to figure out what to do, and not get involved with magic and nichosh or the stipler. He didn't want to get involved with the Garul Agra, although there's legitimacy to it. We don't. It's not good to go. I'll just tell you that some people go to Rabbanim, Kubalim, before they get married. Should we get married? Right? Should we get married? And the rabbi takes the name from here, name from there. It's not the best idea to do. Because, as my uncle says the story, he went to Mordechai Eliyahu, he said, can you look it up in the Sfarim? And Mordechai Eliyahu said, you love her, she loves you, you're going to respect her, you're going to respect him, get married. That's it. There's no magic, heebie-jeebie, look in the books and stuff like that. Okay? My name, this, that. Don't get carried away with that.
They look at the genes, plus, minus.
Now that you might have to do as for medicine, because if you're carrying certain diseases, that you want to check, right? Because that's... All right. One last halacha, Rabotai, which is Nagaya many, who work out in the field outside.
With the pictures, allowed to speak with the other one.
No.
Asur legabri as avodah zarah.
I know, but if you can you ask this? Okay.
Avodah zarah. Okay, Rabotai, we have 5 minutes. We have 4 minutes. I want to discuss really briefly a very important halachic concept. Avner, I'm at a business meeting. A woman sticks out her hand to seal the deal. Can we shake her hand or not? So Rabbi wants to give a blanket statement, but I would like to be a little bit, if you can just leave the light as is, I would like to give a little bit more of a nuanced issue. The pasuk says, "Lo tikrivu legalot erva." Don't come to uncover the nakedness, which means is that you shouldn't come, the Rambam says, you shouldn't come to anything that might engage in forbidden relations. Okay? What's that considered? What we want to call derech chiba. Something done in an affection type of way. All right? Let's talk about, for example, hugging. A hug is very affectionate. A kiss is very affectionate. So that's completely asur, right? But the woman that you're not allowed to be with, which is every other woman except your wife, you're not allowed to do chiba, der chiba, hugging, or kissing. Now, what about shaking hands? Is shaking hands with a woman derech chiba, or is it not derech chiba?
She's in blood.
She's not in gloves.
Rabbi, business.
All right, so that's the question. Business. Can I shake a woman's hand in business? So you should know that Rav Moshe was very strict. At least Rav Moshe's tshuvas on this matter in the Rigus Moshe is strict. Some want to say Rav Moshe, when asked personally, he would be makel and say it would be okay if it's not done b'derech chiba. But in his writings we don't find that. The Stipler said shaking a woman's hand is asur legamri, and the Chazon Ish said even for business it's yahareg v'al yavor, according to the Chazon Ish, according to the Stipler. The Azni Dabaru, Rabbi Yamin Zilber, he says that shaking hand is not derech chiba. And the Sefer Hilchos Yisrael brings down that the Gutzman said it was forbidden, that you should explain to her. Rav Chaim Berlin, and the Ishmas Chaim writes, you should try to avoid it, but if she stuck out in your hand, you should shake it. Okay? You should know there were communities, Orthodox communities in the past, where the ladies would come and shake the rabbi's hand. It was considered not b'derech chiba, and they would shake the rabbi's hand. It existed. Don't say no, it existed. Okay? Were communities. Okay? Now, so many poskim are of the opinion that it's not b'derech chiba, and some want to say, like Rav Sternbuch wants to say, when you have to shake a woman's hand, you should do it very fast. Like it shouldn't be a long shake. Some Rabbanim wanted to say, some poskim said you should shake it very lightly, like a dead fish shake. You know, you put your hand in, but not do it tightly. Others say that's not good because that's not good for business, because you look like you're weakling, you're not showing that you mean it. Some say you should shake very hard because then that shows that you don't really enjoy the shake. But there, right there, we'll end off. Rav Schachter from Yeshivas University says that permits returning a handshake, so you should never initiate the handshake with a woman. You shouldn't be the one to stretch out the hand. But if she stretches out the hand to you in a business setting where it has to be done and there's no way to avoid it, person can shake, and he should shake it normally, and especially if it's a woman that he's not attracted to, it's lesser problems. It wouldn't make a difference. If it's a Jewish woman, you won't shake because she's religious. If she's not religious, it's the same thing as a non-Jew. All right? So in conclusion, Rabotai, there are poskim, like the Chazon Ish, who say it's also legamri. You can never do it. You cannot do it. You have those who say that if necessary, you can. Maybe you should do it quick. We should do that. And those who say if it's necessary, you can do it normally and move on. Some want to say, oh, you do the hapchu, you do the this, you do the that. It's not easy to always hapchu every time you have to shake a woman's hand and stuff like that. But if a person is in such a place and he has to do it, he should know. What I'll just end off with my mashgiach Ruchni of Wolfson, Zechat Tzadik L'Bracha. Moshe Wolfson used to say, there's something called Ein Derech Acher, Ein Breira. I'm stuck. She's stuck out her hand, and I have no way to avoid this, so I have no choice. So you can rely on this Paiskim who say you can shake that hand briefly for that, right? Cover the brios. It's not an issa d'oraisa, it's issa d'rabanan. So perhaps I was going to get into the next topic of having a relative, a male relative, and then a female relative who's older and wants to hug the male relative. Some females, you have a cousin, you have an aunt, and they want to hug you.
I did that. I didn't know.
Can you or can't you not? Well, I'll leave for another time.